Hey Micah, it's great to see your swing again. I'm going to get right into it here. Your setup looks much better than before. So really nice job on that. There's some lines, obviously, we're going to go over. So as you take the club back right off the bat, I like the look of this takeaway. Club head and the hands are pretty much perfect in terms of intersecting. Now, your takeaway from the face-on view, which I will get to later, I want to bring something up, but let's continue back. Again, the club is planed on a great angle here. I will say your club face is a little bit shut, so I just think altering your grip will help. Once again, I'll point this out from the face-on view. Your arms are way better than they were in the past. So much more compact. I like that. Now, a couple of things I wanted to point out. Your head, if anything, has moved up a touch, and your hips have moved off of this line. So you're losing depth, and then your left knee is down here. So what I'm seeing is too much weight going into the front of your left foot. So reverting back to the left foot up drill will help, but at the end of this lesson I'm going to show you another drill that may help even more. I think you'll like it. So when you go down, you can tell that the shaft at this point is parallel to the plane. Much better. You have the club on the right forearm, so in good shape there. But again, your hips are continually, let's mark it right here. Your hips are continually moving farther away, so you're coming out of your posture a bit. You might refer to that as early extension, and then at impact, I think your hips could be more open, so I'd like to see more weight deeper into that left heel. So more lower body rotation and more depth. Now, again, a lot of good stuff though. So let's, before we even look at the face-on view, let's pull up an image of you and Hogan so we can gain some transparency here. So I think this is a good visual here. You can see your head, once again, if anything, it's moved up just a touch, and then your hips have moved off of that line, so you've lost depth, whereas Hogan, we can see his head has definitely moved down, where he has increased his depth, or in other words, he has achieved a position here where he is deeper in his posture. And then this angle at the ankle joint, yours is maybe about 45 degrees, where Hogan, it's more towards the sky. It's not ever going to be perpendicular, but this, we can see just a much more symmetrical movement with the knees, whereas yours, that left knee is really sinking downwards, which indicates too much weight in the front of your left foot. So again, to reiterate, more weight into your right side would help. And then at impact, we can see on the left with Hogan much more of the back of his left leg. So his hamstring, that lower portion of his calf, this is just almost locked. So that left knee is really snapping back, and he's really open at impact, whereas with you, we can see that line is moving in the opposite direction. Now, just to show you, it's not just Hogan. This is Anthony Kim, one of the most flawless golf swings I've ever studied. He retired from the tour in his early 20s after racking up about $12 million. So once again, we can see that the hips are going back, the head is going lower, but check out this knee movement. So perfectly symmetrical here. Now, this type of stability is hard to achieve, so if your left knee were to move out here somewhere, that would be fine. The key is we just don't want it moving downward in that way. And then we'll watch closely the moment that this downswing starts, the left knee will retract back that way. Let's watch that one more time here. So at the top, arms are in great shape. And part of the reason why the head goes down and the hips go back is when someone turns on a steep axis like that. But watch this knee. The moment the downswing begins, he's very open, and there's that straight angle there, or that line at the back of the left leg. Just so fundamentally sound, a great swing to look at. All right, so here you are at the from the face-on view, and what I would recommend is getting a bit more weight into your right side at setup, and then what I would say is with your left hand, you would actually you could weaken it. Meaning, if we look at the camera from this angle and the knuckles in your left hand, ideally you would like to see one, maybe two knuckles at the most. So this would mean that your left thumb is basically going right down the shaft there. And that will help control the club face so that it's not as closed. Now as you take the club back, if I pause at P2, which is the terminology for when the club is parallel to the ground, at this point I would like to see more extension. So your hand should be farther away from you. And then additionally, we would like to see some space in between your right elbow and the body, so somewhere in this vicinity here. And the reason why I think more width will help is it will minimize wrist hinge. Now, normally people don't have enough wrist hinge, but in this case, at left arm parallel, what I'm seeing here is a lot of wrist cock. And on the way down, there's actually less wrist cock than there was on the way back. So the positions, it's P3 to P5. That's the terminology. So left arm parallel is P3 going backwards. And this is P4 at the top. P5 is left arm parallel on the way down. So that's something you will really never see if you study scratch golfers, top level amateurs, or anybody on tour. You're always going to see the opposite, where on the way back they have less wrist hinge, usually about 90 degrees. So it'd be like somewhere in here, and then on the way down, that's where they really continually cock the club so that they have a ton of lag, and then the club is, maybe somewhere over here. All right, so the other comment I would make is regarding, I've already talked about the weight going into the right side, but if we just study your lower body movement, we can see how your right leg is canted inwards, and there's a gap here, and on the way back, this is still part of the backswing, your hips are emerging on the opposite side of that line. So we'd like to reverse those conditions so that when you go back, you actually create a little gap on the opposite side. But despite that, you're still doing a nice job of shifting your weight even more left and driving laterally. All right. So let me simplify this. Let's just look at another illustration so you can get a better idea here of the weight and, again, the hips from the face-on view. So here's Ernie Els, former #1 in the world. So this will provide a nice demo. So check this out. So as he goes back, he is bracing very nicely into the right side, and notice the gap right there. And on the way down, he's going to shift his weight in the opposite direction so that his hips pop out on the opposite side. And ideally, you would like to see much more lateral drive past this line on the way down than you would creating a gap on the way back. But this, again, is just a nice visual representation. Now, while we're at it, let's freeze him at left arm parallel. So there's that 90 degrees. Maybe he's, marginally more than 90 degrees of wrist cock. Not a huge deal, but watch this on the way down. So here's P5. This angle has increased a bit. And players like Sergio, it's very obvious where they have the club like over here. So here's Hogan going back, creating a little bit of a gap here. Again, you're never going to really see a top caliber player have their hips go over here on the way back, but we certainly will see it on the way down. So there's that nice weight transfer this way. And then while we're at it again, just to show you, so here's the takeaway. There's the with, not a whole lot of wrist cock yet. It's hard to find left arm parallel. I know the frames are a bit blurry, but it's probably somewhere in here. But check this out, watch on the way down. So again, he's substantially increasing more and more with the wrists later in the backswing, and even more so on the way down. So this is part of the downswing here. So there's that lag. So here's some footage of me from a few months ago. This is a neat drill that you can do. And I noticed that looked like you had some sort of a homemade practice setup, which is cool because that will save you money. You could just do this drill over and over where, again, my left foot is up, and I just would hit balls into your net like this. I'm swinging the right arm away, keeping it straight, grabbing the club, and this is literally forcing me in a position where there's width. So here's that space between the right elbow and the body. Not really any wrist hinge because I'm not even at P2, and then I'm just going to strike the ball. So one more time. That will make your takeaway solid. Just do that over and over again. And then the other drill I would recommend is using a wall, which let's slide over to that right now. All right, Micah, so to close this out, this is a drill I think will help a ton. So, from lesson 2, we talked about lifting the front of the left foot up, which I would continue hitting balls that way, but this is me in the gym. So all you need is a club, and you can do this indoors. Just find the corner of a wall in a house or an apartment. And what I'm going to do here is turn back on a steep angle. And as you can see, my right glute has gotten deeper. My head has moved downwards. And then I'm trying to maintain that depth and really, again, straighten that left leg, open up the hips on the way down. So again, just a club across your chest will suffice. Tilting back in a steep angle, keeping your hips on the wall. So my right hip is wrapping around the wall, and then on the way down, I want to keep my glutes back, but I'm trying to keep my left hip even deeper here. So again, I think this will help a lot with your tilt, lower body action, and your weight distribution. So let me know if you have any questions. Keep up the great work, and let me know how it goes.